Good afternoon. I'm Aramis the artist. I say that title so often now when really my story started in a completely different way. Let me take you back to over a decade ago when I worked as a registered nurse. I was 21 years old, fresh out of nursing school, and ready to help save the world. I had no idea what was in store for me. Just a few months into my career, I watched my patient take her last breath in the intensive care unit. It brings to mind Bronnie Ware's book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. As a previous critical care nurse who has worked with many patients during their final moments, I started to ask, would I have any regrets? Is there anything I'm supposed to do during my last moments here? Well, you know what they say, when in doubt, go back to school. So that's what I did. I started my studies at Loyola University to become a nurse practitioner with a cardiovascular subspecialty. I remember sitting in my pathophysiology class learning about something called the Stress Cascade. Now, this is when the body goes through a series of different chemical and biological events. Many different neurotransmitters and hormones are released by the endocrine system that can lead to inflammation. When sustained for a long period of time, that can cause catastrophic damage to the body. Now science is showing acute and chronic diseases can be caused from inflammation. But I remember sitting in that pathophysiology class thinking to myself, if stress is killing us, could a stress-free life be the cure? To me, that sounded impossible. This world is full of stressors, but I still wanted to go on the journey and see if there were more modalities that could help us in this life. So I started that journey, and that brought me from my hometown in Chicago out here to Seattle back in 2013. I started my studies once again in naturopathic medicine at Bastyr University. At the same time, I was dealing with my own stressors. Now attending school, still working as a registered nurse, but this time across the country at a completely different hospital, and I left many of my family and friends back home. In the midst of all of that, the tool that I picked up that's been with me since I was young was the paintbrush. Painting has always been my place to escape, create, and connect to an existence beyond myself. But it's also been the place that challenged me the most, especially when I made the decision to leave the field of medicine and turn my creative hobby into a full-time profession. On that journey, another old friend came to greet me, and that was imposter syndrome. A lot of us deal with imposter syndrome. I still struggle with it to this day. But sharing your work can truly be one of the scariest things to do. But I think it helps to get clarity on what this means so that you can actually confront it. So I'm going to take a moment and do that right now. So Webster defines imposter syndrome as a psychological condition that is categorized by persistent doubt in one's abilities or accomplishments, accompanied by the fear of being exposed as a fraud, despite the evidence of one's ongoing success. That hit home, okay? And the two phrases that I thought were really interesting were persistent doubt and despite the evidence of one's ongoing success. I was receiving feedback from art institutions, my peers, and community that I was talented, but the self-doubt was real. Looking back to roughly 7 years ago, I think what gave that young woman the gumption or gall to think that she was even capable of becoming a professional artist? There was just a small voice that asked, why not? Why not you? It could be fun. Just give it a try, YOLO. But in all honesty, it was something within. Now I know this might not be everybody's experience, but it's important for me to speak my truth. And my truth is that I could not sleep at night. There was a burning desire inside of me that knew I had to show up in this way. I had to create because what I wanted to see in the world did not exist yet. It felt like a part of my duty and my mission to create it and redefine what was possible. At the same time, that required me to stare my fear in the face and challenge my ideas of unworthiness, imposter syndrome, mediocrity, and the big one, comparison. I had to stare them square in the eye. And what I needed to take the first step and what I use continuously to take steps on a daily basis is courage. With that courage, that's what made me realize the cure isn't to live a stress-free life. The cure is to show up to life courageously. That's the point. No risk, no magic. Sharing your creativity with the world is one of the most vulnerable things you can do. Trust me. But that's what makes it so exciting. It's this raw, dynamic experience where you get to share your thoughts, creations, and ideas with the world. That's where the magic happens. Creativity has been the gateway that allowed me to build my own courage. When I stare at a blank canvas, the possibilities are endless. Now I know some people might make that sound all beautiful and poetic, but it's not. It is paralyzing. It's intimidating. Where do I start? What should I make? Will anybody like this? Will they buy it? Everything crosses your mind when you are in that creative work. That's when you're challenged the most. But that's also when you can build up the mental fortitude. But courage doesn't start in the mind. It starts in the movement. Elizabeth Gilbert says, I don't sit around waiting for passion to strike me. I keep working steadily because I believe it's our privilege as humans to keep making things. You actually have to start. When I started to create, it helped me break free from an imposter syndrome, allowing me to share my gifts with the world. Life continues to amaze me, and it continues to remind me that on the other side of the facade of fear, there is a field full of every single one of your desires when you allow yourself to push through and break the chains in your mind. My mind is blown daily, and my gratitude overflows. I'm invited to speak to students at art universities where I myself have never stepped foot as a student. By owning my identity as an artist, I've had the privilege of sharing my work at galleries and exhibitions all over the Pacific Northwest. From museums to the Black Lives Matter mural, my work has been a part of radical movements to help rewrite a narrative, not only for myself, but also for others in my community. You know, the one thing that I'm most humbled by is building a community of supporters. They continue to affirm what I do by reminding me how my creativity has inspired them to show up, share, and express their talents in ways that they never thought possible. You see, it becomes a ripple effect for every person, place, and thing in your life. Creativity brought the joy and happiness that I needed. And you know the funny thing? It did decrease my stress. Living a stress-free life might not be possible, but maybe a life of less stress could be. Now, I'm sharing my personal story, but you aren't an outsider on the sidelines peering through gallery windows. I would argue you are a creator too. You play a key role in this unified orchestra of life. I've seen imposter syndrome keep so many talented individuals trapped in a mental cocoon of fear, myself included. Creativity and courage are the cure. But let me be more specific. Expressed creativity. When you share your ingenuity with the world, we can cross-pollinate the fields of our collective consciousness. That's what it's about. That's how you build up that strength. When we cross-pollinate the fields of our collective consciousness together, that's how we can bring innovation and problem solving to the world. If you didn't know, I'll take you back a little bit. and tell you those top 5 regrets listed in Bronnie Ware's book. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not one others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And the last one, I wish I had let myself be happier. I thought it was interesting that of those 5 regrets, 2 included courage. I come from a family full of healthcare professionals, and pursuing a career in the arts was completely unheard of. Today, I'm still working on a few from that list, but that first one, I feel like I can start slowly checking that one off. To live a life that's true to you might feel like you're taking a risk, and you are. That's exactly what creativity and life requires of us. It requires us to show up bold, courageous, and vulnerable. Even if you're shaking while you're sharing your message or presenting your painting to a crowd, that's what's necessary. I'm going there. To change the world, we need artists and creators more than ever. We need scientists, engineers, attorneys, teachers, poets, performers, and painters who are at the leading edge of abundant imagination. I would argue that you are creative. Maybe you haven't given yourself permission to express that aspect of yourself. But that's exactly where your freedom lies, in expressing your uniqueness with the world courageously. I'll leave you with this. If you choose to let go of imposter syndrome with the 2 elixirs, courage and creativity, take it from a nurse. You won't regret it. Thank you.